All right. So, hello, hi, and welcome to this first episode of my first podcast here on Substack. Um, and see, and excuse me, let's see. So, uh, my Substack is called The Index Card, my publication, that is. And so for now, the podcast is still called The Index Card, by the way, because I'm just going to keep it simple at this point. But suggestions are welcome. Anyway, so I wanted to start by introducing myself. Hi, I'm Heather Dewey Pettit, and I am a writer, editor, and artist. And what ties all three of those things together is my love of fantasy and science fiction. So I've got a lot of things happening right now, but my super quick news is that I have started a podcast here. And then also I've been working on my first nonfiction book, The Fairy Glossary and Style Guide for, excuse me, and Guide for Writers. Excuse me. I got an old term popped in there for some reason. It's not a style guide. Anyway, which has it's been inspiring me, excuse me, in other areas of my professional life, and actually personally. But anyway, but professional life, that brings us back to the podcast super quick. So, um, I met Stephanie Kunkel through the Neurodivergent Editors Lounge and its sister group, the Neurodivergent Writers Lounge. Um, she is currently running a nano equivalent, the fall 25 or 2025 Word or Weird writing camp, which actually began back in October. So, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll talk about your businesses in particular, and then we'll get into our main subject, really, which is about writing to help yourself.
All right, sounds good. Hey guys, my name is Stephanie. I have a business called Perspective Shifting. I'm a mental health coach by day. That's what I do, and I work a lot with business owners. And we go through the whole gambit from health and wellness and mental health all the way to business health, and helping them be successful. But I am a writer by heart. That's what I've done. I've done lots of writing since high school. I've published now 3 books with another one that just finished the first draft and is on the way, and a few more that are more under my pen name than my own. And so I wanted to give a spot for writers. There was a lot of stuff that was going on with Nano and a lot of confusion and a lot of hesitancy. And I said, why don't we just do a writing camp? And it was also inspired by a book talker who had declared Wham Camp, which was around writing hard all month. So last year we did a Wham camp, and then in April of this year we did a second writing camp, and then I finally settled on a name this go around, and it's the Word Writing Camp. It's spelled Wyrd.
Mhm.
And that all just kind of came together like that. And we host it twice a year so that we can get 2 books done if we want, or finish the one that we start in the first camp and get it wrapped up and published. So thanks for having me, though, Heather.
Oh,
Appreciate
you're
it.
very welcome. Okay, let's see. So, my next question basically was covered. And but what did you like about the word, basically? Or
Yeah.
weird, which can be pronounced that way as well. Um,
Yeah. So I started looking for names, and I don't even honestly, I think what I ended up doing was I was looking for a Celtic symbol. So in my logo, there is a Celtic knot, and I was looking for another Celtic knot, and the word symbol came up. And I was like, and I noticed the spelling and I was like, what is this? And it just so happened that word is the Norse word for fate. And I was like, oh, this is kind of fated and also very perfect. Because when we're writing, especially if we're writing fiction, but even if we're writing nonfiction, we're kind of writing different fates and putting that into play. And
Mhm.
and we could also talk about the connection with the fates and kind of the mystical side as well. So, which is a lot of what I'm into on the other side of my business too. When we talk holistic mental health, it's not just mental and emotional and physical and business health, but also spiritual health. So
Mm.
it was perfect.
I completely agree. They all just kind of go together.
Hmm.
So yeah, so what I had planned to title this specific podcast post is was is excuse me words on words. Um, so
Yeah.
WORDS on
Yeah.
WYRDS,
Yeah.
um, writing to shape your destiny. So this one specifically is how to help yourself with writing. So ironically, that works really well. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, so we went into the or weird. Uh, um, it's got a long history. It's got Norse origins as well. So a lot of Celtic borrowed from Norse, or rather, they
Yeah.
insinuated it, or whatever, however you choose to see that. Um, yeah, and I found that fascinating when I really started digging deep, and I'd heard of that word sorry, um, a while back. But when I, kind of re-researched it, I was really fascinated, found it really interesting. And
Yeah.
so yeah, we wanted to talk about how to help yourself with writing. Um, and so one thing we talked about was main characters
Yeah.
and how what you can do with fiction, without it being memoir or nonfiction, um, is you can, well, do some author insert with your main
Yes.
character. Lord knows I've done that.
I
I've
think
done
a
quite a
lot of
bit of that,
authors do that.
actually. Oh,
Yeah.
well, it happens. And so, would you like to talk about a real quick? We talked about if you want to talk about author insert real quick, and then we can talk about anything specific.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think a lot of authors do
Mhm.
author insert. I think it's really hard, even if you're writing a character that is completely opposite of you, to not think about it in a way of what would I do or what wouldn't I do, right?
Right.
So, and I think this is true. I mean, as I said in my introduction, my business is around perspective shifting, and it's all about just kind of coming to the realization that the way that we view the world is often through our own lens. So it's our experiences, our understanding, our values, our behaviors, and it's really centered around our own understanding and beliefs in the world. And so even as an author who is completely in the imagination stage and dreaming up characters that are seemingly nothing like us, I think all of us put our own beliefs and values in our characters. And even if we're looking at villains, right? The villains
Mhm.
who do things that we were like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe this person would ever do." That's still based on our perspective. And I don't know that there's another way for us to write. I'm not sure we can get that detached from our writing.
Yeah, I completely, I agree with, I can, I agree with you on that. Excuse me. Let's see. So yeah. Um, One thing that I thought of was specifically about what characters go through. Um, Having your character, again, living through your character a little bit. So how you can apply those things to that, how to involve, say, things like conflict and whether it's the hero's or heroine's journey or whatever it is, and things like that. What do you think about that and how they
Yeah,
grow and change
yeah,
doing
I
art?
think writing is a really it's a really incredible source of healing for a lot of people. And I think when we're trying to assess conflict or trying to work things out, putting it through the lens of a story, writing it, and telling not just the story, but the story maybe we want or we don't want, allows us to sit with that and process the emotions too. I mean, there's a lot of really great aspects of a writing program that is healing through writing and really having somebody who can, again, whether it's nonfiction or fantasy, right, or
Mhm.
sci-fi or humor or whatever genre we're looking at,
Mhm.
when you can apply yourself in that situation, but also detach and take an observer's view, that goes back from a psychology aspect. So psychologically, when we're looking at our life, when we're looking at the things that we go through, it's really easy for us to get caught up in all of that, and that's where the feelings come in, right? Feelings of, if you're looking at conflict, maybe defensiveness or anger, frustration, sadness, insulted, all of these, feelings of shame. But when we take a step back and we observe from the writer's point of view, if you will, it allows us to take an observing point of view and we get to see those things through a different lens. And it
Mm.
helps us to heal, it helps us to process things. And sometimes it helps us to control situations that are completely outside of our control, too. So, one of the ways that you might see this applied as if you were, writing something in fiction about, a fight that you had or a conflict that you had. And maybe that conflict in real life didn't go your way, but in your piece, it does. And it goes that main character's way, and things work out the way that you want them to. It
Right.
allows you to still kind of navigate those different realities and work through that without actually being able to have control over that situation in that moment.
Mm. Yeah, that I definitely enjoy playing with those sorts of things myself, actually.
Mhm.
What about tropes and archetypes? Do you have uh, any any thoughts on these main characters or other side characters that you identify with, and that or that you have either um, created on purpose to represent kind of you or on accident?
Yeah.
Um,
So that's a really good question. So my pen name writes under basically under direct response. So when she was working on her first book, which is actually going to end up being her second book, and that's a long story. But when she was working on her first set of stories, if you will, she would ask people around her, or I would ask people around her, since it's technically me, um, if you could go anywhere, where would you go? And within whatever response that was, I could sit down and craft a story. And it was a short story, but I could craft a story around that.
mhm.
And from that emerged, 30, I think we're up to 33 or 34 stories now, short stories. And at the time, I was married and was not in a great relationship and was able to play out fantasies through my writing that I was not able to play out in real life, which extended my marriage quite a long ways. And I ended up having kids and having probably a way better life than I would have had I ended it early. So who's to say though? So all of that, though, when you think about it, for me, it's a direct response. And when I'm in my pen name's head, so that was the first set of stories. But then in August of 2022, 23, no, 23, um, I started writing in response to genre and and location. So had people ask, give me a genre and a location. And so the first one I got was dystopian Egypt, and I was like, let me run with it. So I ran with it, and then I continued to get the most strange and bizarre tie-ins. So we went from dystopian Egypt to 1920s crime Chicago era, mafia type genre. And then from there, we went to historical fiction, and it just kind of continued to evolve until I had about 12 of these stories that I had meant to write independently,
Hmm.
but all have this very similar tie-in, which in as we talk about this in the conversation, it could be me. That's the tie-in, right? But they
Hmm.
all had this very distinct tie-in for me. And so I'm currently working on a fiction that is time and genre bending, that has basically a woman with a broken psyche, who is trying to rediscover her powers and understand why time keeps shifting. And it was somewhat of a spoiler here, she uncovers that she's actually the one who's causing the time to shift. So yeah, it's an
How interesting.
interesting piece, but it's one of those things that, again, we do, when you said you may not know that it's happening, that's exactly what has happened in this story. Is I didn't realize what was going on until about ten chapters, if you will, in, and I was like, oh yeah, I see what's going on here.
That's very cool. Um, so yeah, yeah. It is very interesting when, you either do it on purpose or you realize after
Mhm.
the fact. Yeah, I realized a lot of things after the fact while trying to write my own novel. Because I kept seeing myself in this character. It was my first novel. I hadn't written fiction in a long time. And when I really, even with a lot of the side characters, um, some of these side characters I realized were, or maybe even, just various characters, I realized they were definitely tropes, lots of tropes, and
Yeah.
uh, or I just mean standard things as far as tropes, but they can be standard things. But if but things that you see often in fantasy, because it's fantasy, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of archetypes in the in, including the villain. So there's that, and then also there's helpers,
Yeah.
the helper archetypes as well. Um, what am I trying to say? The wise one type
Yeah.
of deal.
Yeah.
Whatever the word I'm trying to thinking of, I can't quite catch in my head. Anyway, yeah, go ahead.
No, you're good.
Okay. Well, um, is there anything else you wanted to say about this whole subject?
I mean, I think the idea that we can sit down and put a pen to paper or our fingers to the keyboard, and we can write whatever destinies or whatever stories or whatever comes to us is an incredibly powerful thing. And I think that when we deploy that in terms of whether it's our own healing or just getting our mind distracted from current events, or whatever modes that we want to use these powers that we have, it is a powerful thing. And I think we've lost a lot of that. I think a lot of people think that they don't have control, and they forget how much control that they really have in writing their own destinies, and not just in real life, but also in the pages of a book. And I'm just so passionate about helping authors to just stick to it and finish it. And I just read, a friend of mine sent me an email yesterday about how Stephen King's Carrie novel, he threw in the trash
Yeah,
before,
literally through.
literally threw it in the trash, and his wife picked it up.
Mm-hmm.
and said, "You have something here and you need to finish this."
Yeah.
And he did. And we all know Carrie, right? So
Yep.
I think it's so important for us to remind ourselves that what we read or the standards we hold are not always, they're not always what other people will see when they hear or read a book. And I think it's really important for us to let go of some of that control sometimes, and just let
Absolutely.
the
I will.
fates or the weirds like work through us.
I'm so sorry. One second.
No, you're good.
Just have to do something.
Yeah, you're fine.
Um, okay. Just making sure things are kosher over here on the technical end. Pardon me. Pardon me. Gotta make sure we're recording.
All right.
So so yes, this is such an interesting subject. I am so glad that I um got this idea, and so yeah,
Me
maybe
too.
I would love to talk to you some more about this entire subject, if you want to come back for
Yeah,
something similar.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Wonderful. And so let's see, just to sort of wrap things up again, uh, or to wrap things up, I'm sorry. Okay. Where can everyone find you if they're interested in any of the things you've talked about, the camp and everything? Where can
Yeah,
they find
the easiest way is to go to my website, stephaniekunkel.com. And if you're interested in the word camp, just throw a /right behind that, and you'll find information on the word camp. As I kind of revamp some things over this next quarter, more links will be added and more information about the different things I do will be added. So exciting to share that with you all. But yeah, that's probably the best and easiest way. I'm on most social medias, usually under my first and last name, Stephanie Kunkel, but yeah, that usually going to the website is the easiest way to get in touch. And if you're a writer or an author and you're listening to this and you're like, okay, I want to sit down and I want to write a new story, if you do go to stephaniekunkel.com /write and scroll down to the bottom, there is a prompt guide that we crafted in the last writing camp, that's available for free. You can put your email in and download it. And I think that I don't think I ever actually counted how many prompts that we had in there, but I know there were 13 for each writing genre, at least
Okay.
13 for each writing
Something
genre.
like
So,
that? Yeah,
yeah. So, hopefully that's helpful to some of you, but thank you for having me, Heather. I appreciate it. Always
absolutely,
great to talk
absolutely,
to you.
absolutely. I will include everything Stephanie mentioned in the show notes, links to everything, and also just something I meant to mention earlier was that I might be a little bit biased because I'm actually I'm a participant in the word camp, as well as just to be completely clear, I'm also doing all the things to be an affiliate. So there's that. If I am able, I can even put my affiliate link
Yes.
in
Like,
the description of this. And so yeah, if you liked this podcast slash video, please let me know. And if you have any comments, suggestions, please let me know about that. I'd really appreciate any feedback at all. And hopefully I'll work out any bugs that may have happened. Um, all right, well, have a great day, everybody. And thank you again so much, Stephanie.
thanks for having me.
No problem. And great. Have a great day.